And the U.S. inflation is similar to the Philippines. Imagine how can that be? The United States has inflation is about 2% maximum. Now they're about 5. Other countries in Europe have more than 3. Why? Simply because goods are not arriving on time. And the shipping costs have increased from $500 roughly. I think some of your people watching your channel would know. Right? Those who are in shipping, $500 per container. Now it's about kakatakot, no? The figure has gone according to some people, 10 times.
Wow.
So
Wow.
where do you put that? Who is going to pay for that? It's going to be passed on to the consumers. It's not really the numbers went up. A lot of it became formalized kasi previously nung pre-pandemic they formalized na majority, pero yung iba kung saan-saan pa rin dumadaan through other means that are not captured by the system. But the pandemic, forced everyone to go online, di ba? So yun, kaya nare-record na siya properly. I think that's one of the reasons. Kasi look also at the other side na ang daming umuwi, no? Almost 800,000 went back home last year.
Oh.
Even if the world stopped, there was a huge demand for consumer goods, particularly mga gadgets, home items, furnitures. No? Tumaas yan eh. Unfortunately, they all congregating in China. And China is integrating them and sending them back. Pero walang bumabalik sa kanila. And so that's the reason. Plus, in March, there was a huge problem at the Suez Canal. There was a huge ship na naipit dun. That 6 days na naipit siya, yung yung knock-off effect niya is 2 months. Kasi nakapila yung mga yun eh, no? So and now that created a huge plus isa pang challenge doon is that every ship that stops in China has to quarantine. In China, the quarantine is more than 14 days. I think 21 pa yata. So add all of those, this is what we are seeing now, the supply choke. And the U.S. inflation is similar to the Philippines. Imagine how can that be? The United States has inflation is about 2% maximum. Now they're about 5. Other countries in Europe have more than 3. Why? Simply because goods are not arriving on time. And the shipping costs have increased from $500 roughly. I think some of your people watching your channel would know. Right? Those who are in shipping, $500 per container. Now it's about kakatakot, no? The figure has gone according to some people, 10 times.
Wow.
So
Wow.
where do you put that? Who is going to pay for that? It's going to be passed on to the consumers. Kaya while we all wanted a Christmas, yung mga Christmas imported Christmas items, they'll be very expensive for Europe, no, and US. At least dito sa Philippines matagal nag-stock up, pero yung mga US markets by this time, no, they should have stocked up on these things. Kung hindi pa, and but because they are delayed, the delay time is now 2 months. So kung for Christmas, dapat siniship mo na ngayon. No, I don't know if if they will arrive on time, and so many interconnected factors yan. Plus yung oil, kaya din tumataas yung demand. Actually, una weather, no, lalamig na sa Europe, so nag-stock na yung mga western countries, they're stocking up. So there's this thing about commodities, no, that when you have a supply choke, you need to get this protected, no? Natural gas, for example, they are also by tube, di ba? From Europe, nakakonect yan sa mga countries. But I think right now, may problema rin yung operations ng mga yan. So that's the reason why inflation is creeping up. At least dito sa Philippines, hindi pa ganyan kataas, but my worry is in the food, no? Because if the containers also if the container problem reaches us, yun, will not have enough. The price of food will go up because we import almost anything, diba? Including the onions, tomatoes, imported. No? Right now, you have the carrots imported coming here. So, okay lang if the prices are falling, but what if they come in a delayed yung from the order, then the prices will rise. No? So those are realities. Kaya nga sa US, very likely they will raise interest rates, not because of not because of money supply, but because of inflation. They have to, otherwise magreklamo yung mga tao, negative interest rate. Hindi sila sanay, no? Tayo dito okay lang negative interest rate, but these developed countries, they don't sustain negative interest rates.
Do we see this yung team na to in rising inflation, dollar going up, and then oil also going up to continue for the fourth quarter of 2021 and maybe the first quarter of 2022?
Yeah, yung kasi, yung shipping will take time eh. Ano na yan eh, no? Parang domino effect eh. You have to get back the containers again, di ba? Parang and then by the time they get them back, wala nang demand, humina na because Christmas is done. Di ba? Yung peak. So, it will be a slow recovery in terms of the supply chain. And mind you, the Philippines is affected also there, no, sa exports kasi we are exporting a lot of the component parts, di ba, to China. So, si China, they closed the port Ningbo, the second largest port in the world, Ningbo. Where a lot of the processing of yung mga pinapadala doon, and then they will distribute to Guangzhou and other ports. So this is Shanghai port. It was closed in August, no? And already the Chinese reported factory yung output bumagsak kasi walang inputs eh. That's then domino na yan because then China will not be able to ship. Yun. That's the thing, no? So yung the pandemic does not have a parang standard policy for each country, and that is going to disrupt the flow of goods and services, and that's where we have the long-term challenge. The Fed, of course, they will not always sabi nila lang yan, temporary siya. Ang question is how long is that temporary, because you cannot predict yun eh. You cannot predict yung unless China, for example, changes its stock, because zero COVID policy sila eh. Avoidance sila eh. So zero COVID policy means that they will quarantine everyone coming to China. So including the one who carries the goods. So yung mga ships, diba? Kaya nga maraming bumabalik dito eh, diba? They are going to China and then they're sent back. If they have somebody positive, balik kayo. No quarantine, balik kayo sa origin. That's not an encouraging situation sa global supply chain. So yan yung I think to me that's the single most challenging element that will affect finance significantly, because forced to good yung US to increase interest rates without there's no other way but to increase interest rates to cushion yung kasi prices will just increase. Pero yung oil, grabe yung oil. I'm actually surprised. My colleague economist just messaged me. He wrote a column sa Business World. Sabi niya, when I was writing the column, the price of oil was this much. When I finished it, the price was about $5-10 higher. Sabi niya, i-edit ko na naman to. Sabi ko, anyway, may date naman yan. Sabi ko, don't worry, we can mabilis masyado yung increase, sabi niya. So he was also worrying about the price increases.
Yung lockdown sa nangyari sa Pilipinas, then you add all of rising oil, rising inflation, rising dollar. Does this add to the concern that we have, or it's not yet alarming at this point also?
Well, na siya. To me, kumbaga factored in na siya. Kasi I mean, there's not much na ibababa pa ng economy natin, no? Unless we are trying to destroy our economy. Hindi naman, di ba? So you all want the economy not to at least float in this situation. So I think yung mga ito, this is more a signal for how you will recover rather than right now. Yung Philippine economy kasi Pasko yan no. Yung Christmas is, it doesn't matter if inflation is high. People will go through it, and that's why you see our business leaders na sinasabi lang, sige, okay lang mag-lockdown basta fourth quarter open tayo. Kasi they know the economy will really kick. Last year also, no, yung fourth quarter natin was a strong kick because people didn't care about the virus. Christmas yan no, talagang iba talaga yung effect ng sa Christmas sa atin. And I agree that could help yung mga negative effects sa global mag-i-effect siya after. So for example, if the US raise interest rates, the BSP has no choice but to raise interest rates too. Yun yung which will be, to me, the BSP will not do it this year. They will not be Scrooge. They will do it January or February meeting. They will have to, especially if the US does it earlier, no? Magre-respond sila. And then of course yung sa US mahirap din yan. It's not only because of supply problems but also of labor problems. People don't want to work kasi or cannot work, no? And that's why it's erasing prices of wages. Tumataas yung wage, no? And ang daming combination of factors, no? Increase yung wage, so you cannot find a waiter. Yung mga dating low wage people don't want to go back because ayaw na nila ng service economy. They want to go digitalized. So yun.
I want to talk about one of the pillars also of our economy, BPOs, and gusto ko siya itabi rin sa property in a way that madaming REITs, we talked about this offline, madaming REITs also that are highly connected to the BPO industry, from A-REIT, M-REIT, RCR, then Flirt. Also, majority of them are BPO related. They have been resilient last year, they're resilient this year. How do you see the BPO industry, and then how do you see the impact of this on the REITs that have them parang leased out for at least 4 or 5 years yung lock-in ng contracts nila?
Ang tingin ko kasi the BPOs is also connected to the US economy and the European or all the Western economy in general. So if these economies are recovering, pupull nila yung BPOs natin. And that's also the reason why last year resilient sila. Even this year, I think they're still very resilient, adding more business. The thing is, yun yung sinasabi ko kanina, related to the US labor market, may connection, di ba? Yung mga ayaw na mag-work, they want the work that, like what our BPOs are doing, which that can allow them to work from home. This is the reality. Kaya nga yung BPO hindi nahirapan kasi they are actually working as if working from home, but they're not based in the US, diba? So that's the reality. So to me, that's a threat, but it will not easily move the BPOs out, no? Kasi BPOs are not production. They are not similar to the global value chain na nagpo-produce ka let's say nagpo-produce ka ng Nike na kailangan mong come from different parts. So this one is one-on-one, no? From US to Philippines and then back. So okay yun. To me, yung BPOs, the business processing side will continue, will be resilient, and will help, no? Will help cushion yung negative impact sa real estate nung work from home in general, no? At least if they have the fixed spaces that they have already committed. So hindi na alis as long as kumikita sila. As long as they earn, they will not. But my ano lang dyan is that I know the Philippine government, for example, they're happy with BPOs, but they are working on the going up the ladder of the BPOs, not just the servicing. They want to go to the creative part, no? Meron na yan tayo, but they want to spend more there. So hopefully, yan yung you will relocate a lot of people going to the creative part of the BPOs because that is where the high value is, no? Mas maraming income potential na mangyayari. And I don't know how many of the BPOs have of the REITs have taken in this creative industry, no? Yung mga animation, yung advertising, no? These are high value eh. But in general, I think the BPOs will be stable. Yun lang, the real estate, yun lang ang segment na good news sa kanya. Because the other segments are not going to be as as strong as BPOs. Kasi nga, yung mga those who will need to continue to be in their offices, nakita na nila, they can save a lot of money, people coming to the office. So probably just cut off your rent and then do work from home. You can support your people working from home and maybe just maintain a small presence in the head office. And then you save, no? And that has a lot of knock-off effects naman. Knock-off effect niyan, yung condominiums na tinitirhan ng mga workers mo, mga staff mo, they don't need to go there. They will probably go back to their home provinces or, the weekend population in Metro Manila prior to the pandemic. Ano yan, no? Iba yung weekend population saka sa weekday population. Eh. So you know that people go back to their hometowns. And so these people are now in their hometowns. They're not coming back to the city. 2 to 3 years, they will be like this, which means that the workplaces, schools will be doing hybrid kind, no? Meaning 2 days in the face-to-face, 3 days home. Ganun yung magiging arrangement. And so that also is like a way to help not to give up on the properties that you have right now. But even then, the demand will be muted na.